Hello and welcome. It is that of crypto day. Markets aren't trading on the gold markets or the stock markets, but all the crypto markets, they are 24/7, 365. Well, this year 365 because it's not a leap year in 2018. Everything, of course, within your own risk, own reward. Let's start off with an ETC. And it's got a nice daily move, and it's about 9:13 p.m. Eastern time, which means it is now past midnight on the west. So this is that of a Sunday candle. This move has just recently happened, 1 hour time frame, but it's obviously breaking resistance coming from the band. But when you look at how this level of support was resistance at a key fib mark, I'm really liking this setup, and I think this has got potential for some decent gains upcoming. Single hour time frame, that we see a big move. When these things are ready to go, they just go. Going from the 230 handle up to the 250 handle. That's almost 10% in just, well, you see it in 2 15-minute periods. So why not take a look at this on the 1 minute? Once it broke this level of resistance at 20 hours, 38 minutes, it topped at 2100 hours. So a 22-minute time span of that particular gain. It's going through its first correctionary move within such, and it has started off with twice hit support. Very short-term analysis here, of course, but 244 handle against Bitcoin. Okay, so I'm going to leave ETC at that, move on to the next one. That will be Litecoin. And Litecoin in at 0.0813 and change. It left the 18 average 4 periods ago. It didn't hold it that day on May the 3rd. And the band was flat, but it was hugging the 18 average of lows for quite some time. And then on the date of May the 4th, it got above it. Closed there. So what's the next session going to be? Is it a pause day? No, it was further upside. So another decent green candle amongst the Saturday session. And it's obviously going higher microscopically for the day, but the candle is very early in its manifestations and its development, I guess, because there's about 80+% of its time left to go. Let's take a look at this on a shorter term time frame. Let's move this on to a 400-minute next. So it's already came up to this previous, well, 2 previous levels of resistance. And when it came up to the first one, the highs from April 23rd through April 24th, it's resisted there for a couple of periods. It stayed above the 18 average of highs, keeping amazing momentum. And then its move got past this decent level of resistance, hit April 19th. And that of April the 20th. Supporting this area as of now. The level of resistance before that, as we can see, is and from April the 3rd. But however you want to look at this, you could call this a triple bottom, with the neckline being at around the 159 handle. Hit, well, 3 different times, and the second and third time it supported there a few times, at least the second one within that area, and the third time at that number, which is obviously why I'm picking that number. And the resistance line, I mean, however you want to say it, it makes it difficult. Okay, do you want to choose 174 or 175? Do we want to make the resistance line 179? But then we went up to like 182. Either way, it's gotten above the highest point. So if you wanted to settle in on something lower, either way, It's managed to get to levels not seen since it started to decline from this 18 average on March the 26th, after it was correcting, or it was leaving its correctionary phase, which of course then was a early bear market. But when markets go up, they go up faster than they go down usually. It's looking as if this could easily be primed for a decent size gain on the daily time frame. I've talked so much about how much I've loved how it's held the gain from the end of the year and even the second level gain well through time. And that means it's in the correctionary phase as long as it's priced below really the 225 handle. It still has 65 plus basis points on 183 to get there, so that's 30+% gain against Bitcoin before we can start talking about new highs. Now the line in here, this Fibonacci 76.4 at 216 is really that key level, because it matches this high that it's seen during the year 2017. And I guess in here it really doesn't matter what number you choose, because well, that resistance is the 3 number, but either way that was so long ago too. And that will be one area I'll talk about then. But of course I've talked about a 0.036 Fibonacci handle when it leaves the retracement to the upside, if of course that's where it leaves you retracement to, because the market can only do one of 3 things within this such, is that either A, stay retracing in the range of 13 handle to the 25 handle, break it to the upside, or break it to the downside. There's no other choices it can do. And I've been bullish for this, and I've been holding a decent amount of Litecoin for quite some time. So obviously, I feel it's going to break it to the upside. I believe this rally is going to be that for real. Whether it's ready for retracement now or later, I'll always be looking at this 18 average. And normally in a bull market, all rallies are all sell-offs rally are guilty until proven innocent. In a neutral market, it's very much neutral. But the market, of course, because it's been in the sideways range for quite some time, is coming from that. The neutral market was coming from a downtrend from February towards this point. And again, like I say, how it's been supporting this overall area for quite some time, I'm really enthusiastic within this setup. I've spent so much time on Litecoin. I did a full video on it yesterday. I got other coins to go over. Let's take a look at Litecoin against the dollar and then move on from there. I won't spend too much time within it. But the 171.5 level Fibonacci, I wasn't too enthusiastic about being a level of resistance, because I mean, it was a large pierce below before, so I would expect it on a break to break above. It's doing such the occurrence. I will be looking at the 230 handle next, but at the same time I'm expecting a significant leg above this resistance, so I wouldn't be surprised if and with this in a bull market, because it's done all the stages, it's already done up to stage 4 and then some, for all sell-offs to be guilty until proven innocent, which means I'm very confident that if the price action corrects either sideways enough to get to the 18 or red candles down enough to the 18, that it's going to support very well. And I don't like the chances of it holding and staying below the 18 average for anything of even a decent amount of time. As I think that's again going to make at least a move up here. And long term, this has spectacular potential, because what it's going to come down to is its retracement from the 100 level to this one, and these 3 lines would represent the Fibonacci from such. This would be the 38.2. There was no 23.6, which probably should have been around here somewhere at around 140-ish. But This is a 61.8, 76.4, and the 370 just represents the previous high. Now let's move on to Bitcoin against the dollar, because this is a beautiful setup. It really, really, really is. I love it. It too is correcting within its 38.2% correction. And after resisting it on April the 24th, this is one of the most enthusiastic times I think one should be to buy something. I'm just thinking of a Family Feud episode where sometimes people make good answers that go on the bad answer review. And what the question was is, tell me something you feel before you buy it. And the contestant stated, excited. Sometimes you do. This is one of the times where I'm excited about this sort of pattern as it's playing out. Meaning I think it's at a decent time to buy, because after it made this move, it corrected very well via price and through time. It left this 18, and how it's been handling since doing such. Above the Fibonacci line, above the level of previous resistance, holding and staying above that resistance for now on its third day. And it's barely gotten above that point. Like I was saying before, I mean, what's a clear number? And I was really thinking closer to this. But I thought, you know what, 10,000 is a psychological number. I'm quite surprised that it has hung around this low volatile move for the last couple of days, but it really does amplify a lot towards this pattern to give it a lot more precedence for a bullish versus bearish probability odds situation, as I would look at it. And words of probability odds situation are really important for those in calculated gambling, trying to always get the better side of any risk reward type of a bet that is made. Any type you go in the markets, buy here, sell here, use a strategy to do this, well then you're executing such, and hopefully of course you've managed to find one that does give you really good odds. And within crypto trading, it's a lot easier to win that game than almost any other game out there, as far as gambling, like poker, sports gambling, and definitely blackjack is not for the weak in heart. So yeah, I like this setup very much so, and do think that this is going to continue to rise higher as we move forward, either several days in a row where it's like 6 up and 7, and it just continuously goes higher, or we have a nice large green candle day like we did on April the 12th. Like we had a move in here. Like look what happened on November the 25th. It just went straight up with a little bit of consolidation around the end of the month, from like 7,900 really up to like 16,800. So it's got the potential where it could be like 10 days later and we're talking about being over 16,000, and there's only been like one down day. Of course, I'm not saying that's what it is, but it's a lot more likely that 14 of the next 15 days are up today than it was almost any day prior, going back to at least March, because of the setup of the market. Just quickly go over Ethereum against Bitcoin. Oh, it's continually grinding its way higher. That's the trend. Let's move on to Dash next. And okay, so it had its breakout rally on April the 18th. So it's in its correctionary phase. It's been in such for quite some time. Support has been established at the lowest level at the 49.1 handle. It is went as low as 49.6. Resistance, you got a level in around the 544, and then the bigger level at 587. And in between is obviously a more key longer term level, because the pattern is extremely easy to read as I look at this. And that is, I got a key high and I got a key low, and how it reacts to each one is how it's going to move to the next one. As a break of this resistance at around the 58 change, 59 level, but clearly definitely at the 6. I'd be looking for this to make a move up to the 0.076 level and usually pierce extra above it. If this 18 average fails, the support level as mentioned of 49 does not hold. That means the move that we see from April 18th through April 24th is going to be that one of a failed one, and you can expect a fast move to the downside. Well, generally speaking, however, if the base crypto markets go up, and generally speaking they're all bullish, it's unlikely that you're going to get anything more than just a small whatever wave lower down, if anything, when that happens. And thus, during those particular days, Dash would be executing its fast move lower. It would be underperforming the entire crypto market, and then, of course, like always, have its move when it's ready to, because we've seen so many times with these codes. When we look at previous bull markets, this is just sick, and this is a daily chart, to have these types of days. You go from, on December the 8th, a low of the 365 handle, and then on December the 20th, less than 2 weeks later, a high at the 901 handle, which is basically close to triple. When markets move, they move. And then, of course, the case in November. It opened this day at 368. It closed it on, I didn't get the date, but November the 12th, it closed it at 862, so well better than double. And it did so in 6 days. When they are ready to go, they just go. And if you play within that ideology, and when you have these downtrends that precede it, well, you simply buy, and you're going to get your sales in positive order. Because assuming you thought, okay, on October the 9th that it hit this line and it was a good time to buy, well, all you could have sold for was this short-term profit, which is fine, but if you're not playing for that, there's no way you're going to be looking to sell unless it can go higher, maybe even above the 18 for a decent gain. But there really never was much sales. There was another opportunity to sell, buying at the 450 handle and selling here, but that again might not have been good enough. However, when you're talking about what the price was like when it was getting on this final day up, how many of your previous buys have you been able to sell? Because like I stated, you buy here, and then maybe you buy again at 487, and then you see it at 426, and then you see it at 365, and you buy all those times, and oh, next thing you know, it's this green day here. You're like, man, I've got the prices higher than my last 2 buys. I can sell a little bit, and then a big green candle up, and well, now everything you got's in for total profit. And by executing your sells, you got buybacks in here. There's just a lot of opportunities that can take place, but the market sometimes will give you the wild swings down, which it did in these examples, or you'll have the grind lower like we've seen before this last move. So a lot of times, like I state, the market's going to do what it's going to do, and if you get yourself in a position so that if it does what it does and you're in a good spot, well, congratulations. Let's move on to XVG, that of Verge, which had a wild move, obviously, as it bottomed on March the 18th, crypto day, at 322. It originally got past this Fibonacci line on April the 10th, about a month or less later. That's just phenomenal gains. 4x-ish, almost. And when you have a situation where you get failure amongst the 18, this is why when you have a fast move high, and polar opposites, the exact same thing as well for a fast move low, if it dips below the 18, you still want to see how it can fare within. And now it has settled down enough, as it has been in this 18 average for quite some time. It has had enough time to establish its level of support. Key Fibonacci, you can run from this high to this low. I'm not going to calculate it. I got the more longer term lines in, which have been very, very well. So I'm going to keep them while it's in the retracement level, which is prices between the low and the high that it represents. And it's going to be now stating for here whether this move is a real move or a failed move, because it's correcting within such. And if you start to see any type of setup that looks good, I mean, I show like the Bitcoin chart how amazing a setup like that looks. If it could show anything like that, then you can be enthusiastic, excited before you buy. One of the other favorite ones was the most difficult month of pregnancy. That would be September. And let's finish this off with THC, as its volatility is extreme. Its setup. Well, I talked about this for quite some time, as I was waiting, as the price was where it was now back then, that I thought wait till at least it gets to 1,000 to buy. Stating it could go down to as low as 5. Didn't go down to 5, but did go down a decent amount. And for quite some time. The 18 average corrected eventually through time after a large price correction. So there's your indicators of, oh, does it want to make the statement to get out? Yes, it does. So it's not like every time you see a green candle leaving the 18 like this, a green candle reaching the high like it does, a consolidation move where it opens at the highs and then closes barely below it, and then a green candle looking like this with a close above the 18, close above yesterday's open, a high that at least makes it to its this high, and all that stuff, that it's going to have a big day. No. But it did give you a setup. Okay, what would you rather be here, bull or bear? And the answer would have easily, I would have answered that within a couple seconds just looking at that of bullish. So there's the statement. And there's even more validation towards that statement. We also know when cryptos go that they go. One scurrying to sell, okay, congratulations, because for a few days it corrects through time. And at supporting that of a key resistance line. So when you look for the stages, band flattening out, resistance established, it never did come back to the band. And the whole reason why I say that is because I need to see it correct its first rally pump higher. That's basically why I always say it that way. So if you don't use this as your break higher, you've definitely got that correctionary phase that came into place. And then on April the 23rd, that's a very bullish situation. Bullish situation just maintains the correctionary move. And there we see that this has got a pretty darn near good bullish setup. This came back down a little bit. So the setup has not changed. It's closer to failing, but it hasn't changed. Of course, the lower you are, the more close you are to failing on a setup like this. And I think why that's important is if you're trying to get the best price, well, it's not too bad of a price right now as it lies. Of course, what's majorly important is to hold both the 18 average of lows and this level of resistance. You'd expect that the time that it would take to get back should have the 18 average of lows rise in a little bit, couple 3 days, to this key level here, especially of course with this beautiful uptrend that it has been receiving. But the pattern is most certainly bullish. Risk versus reward. Well, there's two ways of looking at it. Risk, of course, is the loss and potential for such and the mathematics on it. And the reward is the gains to the upside and, of course, again, the mathematics to it again. Depending on your hold strategy, if you're playing just let it ride, I don't want to sell if it goes down because I just know when they're ready to go, they're going to go up. Your risk is everything. The probability odds of losing everything are practically extremely low. A lot of times it could get really bad through time and you might lose a large percentage. And like I state, if you just wait for bull markets, you could very easily end up getting profit later, break even, or just small losses. And then the reward. Well, that depends on how you are designing yourself to trade. You got areas like 2700. You can go for doubling it up if you wish. Maybe you want to play for higher gains, 3x, 4x, 10x. That's your choice. And then the probability odds of getting there. Well, the chances of getting to 3,500 compared to, say, 8,000, well, it has to get to 3,500 first, so it's a lot higher getting there. So if you're in a situation, if you can try to calculate it, well, what's the percentage likelihood it has a very big up move compared to a very bad situation? Again, very difficult to figure out, but you want to try to find the ones in your high expectations. And then, of course, again, the risk reward. Maybe you decide, okay, I want to put a stop down below here at 1087. One way of looking at it mathematically is, in a play like this, it's going to be common for me to put 20-30% stop losses maybe, where I'm looking for gains of like 80%, 100%. So if you were to play it, say, as I mentioned that one pattern I shown before, I think it was on this chart that looked really good on the daily time frame. Maybe it was a different one. Like say, for example, here, you're like, oh, I just believe this is a good time on the correction to go. I'm going to put a stop here, and then this day comes in. Ooh, you could sell now at 15, 20, but you wait, and now you got some sales in maybe, depending on wherever you go. Of course, I like to wait for just key points to sell, and never sell everything at one time, unless, of course, there's a whatever reason for such. Because it wasn't very difficult for me. It didn't take me that long to decide, maybe 4 minutes, because I did think a while about doing such. That when Bitcoin was having its update here, after this day occurred, do I get out of my Bitcoin short or thus sell everything on my TUSD fund? And I thought the decision was yes. I thought, I'm going to believe that the buyers are for real here. I could have tried to get greedy, wait for it to come back down to the 18 average of highs and this level of resistance at 73 change and get a better price, but if I tried to, I would not have got it. And it obviously continued to go higher, so that worked out to be a good play. And I think right now, only a fool, other than for hedging purposes or any miscellaneous reason that's really different, to be short here is an absolute mistake. If you shorted up at this top, well, obviously you would have fished, as I call it, for a top, which is something I mean, that's when I like to do it, sell high, buy low. But if you sold here, obviously you would have already bought it back at different points. So I don't see why you'd want to short this. I really, really don't. But anyone who does, I can say good luck like I would say good luck to you if I was playing against you in poker. But other than hedging, I don't see much of a reason for it. Okay, I wanted to make this like not a short video, but not a super long, normal super long video, and it was mid-20s in minutes. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a good day. Actually, I want to take a look at ETC quickly because it broke out nicely. Then I'll say the baby's in a sideways market on the 1 minute time frame, so it's correcting further amongst its gains. Man, kind of excited to think that this thing could have some amazing gains moving forward on ETC. Of course, always within your own risk, own reward. Bye-bye.